Well, hello, friends, again. My name is Taqiyyah, she, her pronouns, and for those who don't know me, hey, hey. For those who know me, again, hey, hey. Um, it's a pleasure to be in front of you all again, able to preach, this time as a Ravenclaw student, from that student of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I still believe Hogwarts is real. And so, coming from the house of Ravenclaw, I bring forth a word. I'm going to jump straight in, but I love to pray first. So however you posture yourself to commune with the divine, the cosmos, or simply the spirit that lives within you, might you take that posture now. Living God who holds many names, exemplifies many things, and exists in so many ways. As I bring forth the word today, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be an acceptable light unto every spirit experiencing this sermon today. May it teach them, lead them, guide them, change them, grow them, and most of all, just bless them. In your many wonderful names, I pray, amen and ashe. At the heart of my faith is the complex reality of ever-present dynamic spiritual energies, each manifesting uniquely as human and or creature, yet interconnected by their symbiotic nature. The interdependent nature of my faith presumes that all life forces and energies are connected and exist optimally when we're working together to build a home conducive for all life forces. I take seriously the Indian fable, The Lump of Salt is the name of its fable, and its message mainly says God is you and a part of you, which invites us to see God as many, interrelated, communal, generous, abundant. Moreover, a clarion call to relationally honor, worship with, and generously serve the divine in every human and creative force with dignity and love. Now, as we come to a close, at least for this theme, we've talked about generously serving in heart, in action, whether sharing or no longer treating folks as the least of these. We've talked about generosity as a spiritual practice, and now it's time for us to explore the transformative power of a generous mindset. This brings me to the story of Jesus, a man who has been remembered for transforming 5 loaves and 2 fishes into an abundant community meal. The story goes, when it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." And Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They replied, "But we have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish. And he said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides the women and the children. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not here to present Jesus as some savior, nor as someone who can do magic or is higher than you and me. In fact, what I'm actually offering, that you and I harness the same generous, abundant creative potential as Jesus. We just have to embrace it daily and as often as we can. Now, if you remember from the story I just read, you will remember Jesus' friends' generous mind wasn't as present. Their mind was restricted to the traditional system offered, a market-based system. This means their mindset, at best, was operating in scarcity and limitation. At worst, exploitation, selfishness, hierarchy, greed, exclusivity, elitism, determining who is valuable, who gets to live or die. I mean, the market-based system is a zero-sum game, a game we all know too well. But see, Jesus thought Afrofuturistically. And while Afrofuturism is typically a Black-centered, creative social movement to imagine a better future for particularly people who have Black lived experiences, the essence of Afrofuturism is profound because it dares you to think optimistically about the future and question the reality that you live in. It calls us not to accept what is, but dare to bring to life what could be. It begs us to think imaginatively, creatively, playfully, abundantly, collaboratively, generously. See, Jesus saw beyond what people said is possible and then invited others to explore, to participate, to benefit in what seemed unimaginable. This isn't some magical superhuman act that no one else can do. Rather, it's a mental posture of knowing yourself as a creative, generous power filled with abundant possibilities. That's the magic. That's the miracle. We are the magic. And right now, friends, I know our possibilities seem to be restricted to what is. The what is being right now determining still somehow in the 21st century which human is worth protection and care, whether it's building up a wall or mothers in Palestine devastatingly holding someone else's child while searching for their own. The what is being right now, who and what do I vote for? The system seems broken either way. The state at large has continuously failed us, learning new ways to constrain, exclude, and kill. The what is being there's a greater desire to protect guns and censor books than protect the art and beauty of seeking truth and loving on humanity. The what is being climate change and the way Mother Earth is actively screaming at us, stop devouring me with our scarce minds. And how about learn to live generously in harmony with human and non-human creation? The what is could go on forever. We're living right now in it. The what is daunting, my friends, and I'm sure I haven't even scratched the surface of each of our individual lives, our communal lives. But maybe all I'm asking is, what happens when we stretch our imagination beyond what is? And to simultaneously think creatively and abundantly about what's possible and build that, the could be, instead of reactively placing Band-Aids on generational systems of hate and then the deep wounds that are casualties and effects, that needs a greater creative and imaginative approach beyond our typical forms of knowing to heal and transform. What I am offering, friends, is when we are generous in mind, moving in abundant, imaginative mindsets, we permit ourselves to understand and see the social gap, not just as a result of evil and reactively responding with the need to immediately fix, but as an invitation for us to imaginatively respond, to not be so fear-filled and scarce in our thinking that we leave our dreams of what could be, or maybe even forfeit the possibilities of what we envision, instead of just doing the work of manifesting what we may all be beneficiaries of when we're generously, collectively imagining together a transformative reality, not what is, what could be, friends. I know the imagination seems abstract, childlike, and maybe even far-fetched from you. But my friends, we are currently living in people's imaginations right now. Emerged out of people's imaginations are cars, this building, a playground, right? All the things that we use in our day-to-day. I was even reminded by Sonia Renee Taylor, author of My Body Is Not an Apology, that the world around us we navigate is actually the imagination of white, cis, heterosexual, patriarchal, Christian nationalist imaginations. And she said that's not her own, especially as someone who identifies herself as a fat, Black, queer woman. What is your imagination? What does it look like for you and for me? You see, a generous mind is able to see what is beyond, what is given. It demands generous thinking and seeing. And I want to say that again. You see, a generous mind is able to see beyond what is given. It demands generous thinking and seeing. It demands seeing beyond what is right in front of you. So, friends, I want to invite each of us to imagine a world that when we're generous in mind, heart, body, and spirit, what could our world be? Now, this is interactive. I want you to close your eyes, and I truly want you to take the practice of imagination because it's already in you. What would it look like? What would it sound like? What would it taste like? What would it smell like? Who and what would even be present? What would our values be? What would we build and construct? And I want you to just take a minute and generously act in your mind and imagine what could be beyond what is. And at the sound of this singing sound bowl, for those who feel comfortable, to name out some of your imaginations, visions, dreams, and words and phrase, I dare you to offer us your imagination. So I'll give us a moment of silence. Yeah. Yeah. Our imaginations are endless, and we've only scratched the surface, friends. Imagine if you sat with a friend or two or a neighbor, what would come to light? I pray for those that spoke and for those that did not, that your imaginations were continuously hope-filled and generously abundant, expansive and not stifled by cynicism and tradition. For I too imagine some of the things that I heard. I too imagine big. I generously imagine a world where mutual aid-based systems are one of the many starting points of engaging in community. That children of all kinds, and especially Black and brown children and adults, laughter, loudness, playfulness are no longer a threat. That all of our children are free from abuse and violence and tyranny and scarcity and hate, that the smells of grandma and grandparents' soul-fulfilling cooking permeates the air, knowing no one will ever go hungry, and there's always a table and a place to belong. Queer folks and trans folks don't have to explain their human existence, hide, or negotiate minimal resources for health and survival. May the resources be vast. We lived in harmony with all of creation around us, whether elderly or not forgotten, but centered. Malleability and evolution is honored so that we may never get too stuck in traditional constructs, where autonomy of our bodies is not presumed as a privilege but a right, where divine love drives all that we are, willing to meet the faces of God in flesh time and time again, to build a world for those who enter in every season of our life. Man, may each of our imaginations push us to build systems, policies, practices beyond what we currently know, even if it means overhauling and creatively starting anew. Become collective realities that rid us of the many isms that death deal physically, spiritually, economically, emotionally, communally. Today, friends, I'm saying that our imaginations are spell books to casting a better future for all the folks who practice magic, divining, or were a Harry Potter fan like me. Our imagination is our prayers and meditations for the yogis, the Buddhists, the spiritualists, the religious. Our imaginations is a gateway to the cosmos, the universe. Our imagination is a social science to the social ills that we face. Our imagination is our generous mindset. It's an abundant mindset we shouldn't take for granted. Imagination is powerful. I pray we never stop embracing a generously imaginative, abundant mindset, that we too, when we are presented with our own manifold of 5 loaves and 2 fishes, that we think generously, knowing that when we think and imagine differently beyond what is, we're collectively building a generous world of possibility, not only in mind, but in body and in spirit. I pray that I can count on your collective, generous, imaginative mind, for we truly are abundant indeed.